Hi everyone, it's Mrs. Craven. I'm coming to you from my home in Kannapolis and I'm over at my beehives. I am planning to start a series of lessons this week on bees and beekeeping, and I hope you'll join in and find them just as interesting as I do. So let's get started. I've had a lot of people ask me over the years, why bees? What do I like about bees, and when and why did I start keeping bees? First off, I love bugs in general. I love any kind of bugs, and even as a child, I observed bugs. I was fascinated by their strange bodies and by their tiny worlds, and I think that bees are the most fascinating of all bugs. And the more I study them, the truer that becomes. So I hope if you tune into some of these lessons that you'll think that too. So 3 years ago, I built a house out here and I had the room, and I thought, why not? I'm gonna try to be a beekeeper. So I did some research. I visited some beekeepers. I joined the Cabarrus County Beekeepers Association. I bought the equipment and the suit and the gloves, and I bought the bees and I ordered the queen and just waited, and then I started. So this will be my 4th spring with the bees, and I am excited this year because even though we're in quarantine and it's so different and strange, it's allowing me to spend a lot more time with the bees, observing them, and they're doing things that I'm sure they do every spring, but I've never had the chance to witness it. So I'm learning so much. And I do not harvest their honey. I've had a lot of people just assume that I do. Other than licking little bits of it off my gloves at the end of a work time with the hives, I haven't harvested their honey. I may do that in the future, I just haven't yet. So these are my hives. They are about 75 feet away from my house. There's my house, and there's a line of trees between them. The trees create a windbreak behind the hives in the winter, protects them from cold winter wind, and then in the summer it provides shade. Beehives you'll always see situated on the edge of a meadow. A lot of times you'll drive down the road and somebody will have a lot of beehives, and you'll see them lined up with trees behind them and then an open field or a meadow. My field is full of blackberries. These are all blackberries, which really are weeds, but bees love them. They have blackberry blossoms on them, and in a few weeks they'll all be white and they'll be beautiful. And I'm guessing that my honey would taste like blackberries because that's what my bees feast on. You can hear the bees buzzing around me. They're not real happy with me right now. They've been a little aggressive this year. So bees keep their hive at 95 degrees. Their body temperatures have to stay at 95 degrees, and you'll probably notice that that's really similar to our own body temp, which is 98.6. But unlike us, and we're mammals, so unlike mammals, bees cannot regulate their own body temperature. So they keep their hive, no matter what time of year, they keep their hive at 95 degrees. You can imagine how hard that is in the winter. But honey has to be at 85 to 95 degrees to stay runny enough for them to eat it. You can see there's a little water feeder on the top, and there is a water feeder over there. It's the white thing with the green on the bottom that has water, and bees do indeed drink water. So you'll see a beehive on the edge of a meadow. Has to be facing east. The entrance there where you see all the bees needs to be facing east, where the rising sun is, because that's how bees orient themselves, is with the rising sun. So that's why you always see beehives on the edge of a meadow with the rising sun. So this is Bee, a peek through picture book. It's called Peek Through because it has these great peek through holes, and they are hexagons, which we know are so important in the bee world, and we'll talk about that in a couple of episodes. This book is by Britta Teckentrup. It is my favorite bee book. Dawn is breaking on a brand new day, and in the meadow poppies sway. A bee appears, striped black and gold. A wonder of nature is about to unfold. In the treetops, birds start to sing. The little bee beats her wings. As she travels here and there, a gentle humming fills the air. Back and forth, to and fro, Bee knows exactly where to go. Visiting flowers of every hue, she has a special job to do. Gathering nectar as she goes, from every foxglove, every rose, dusty with pollen, the little bee buzzes busily. Bee travels on from bloom to bloom, drawn in by their sweet perfume, harvesting flowers one by one. Her compass is the midday sun. Among the orchard's apple trees, blossoms quiver in the breeze. Carrying pollen from place to place, Bee always leaves a tiny trace. What trace is she leaving? Is it pollen? Flowers as far as the eye can see, too many flowers for just one bee. All of a sudden, Bee is gone. She has a message to pass on. Back at the hive, Bee spreads the news. There's work to be done, no time to lose. Listen for their gentle humming. The word is out, the bees are coming. Buzzing over the dense hedgerows, past the pond where wild thyme grows, through the orchard's sweet-smelling scent, the bees travel on with calm intent. As lilies grow orange in the sun, the bees must finish what they've begun, stopping at every flower they find, leaving the gift of pollen behind. The bees pass over a woodland stream, droplets sparkle and pebbles gleam. Water trickles, bubbles, and weaves, a weeping willow trails its leaves. As the bees fly on through buds and burrs, a tiny miracle occurs. So many plants and flowers you see were given life by one small bee. I love this. I love this picture. I love the little ducks and the little frog over here, and there's a little hedgehog here, a little butterfly. I just think it's so beautiful. Thank you. Hi everyone. So part of the introduction to beekeepers and bees and everything is the bee suit. It's one of the most important parts of a beekeeper's tools. You'll notice that it's all white, and that's because in nature, most predators of bees are dark. So if you think of a bear or a honey badger or a raccoon, things like that that may go after a beehive are dark. So bees have evolved to fear and be aggressive towards dark animals, or if I go out and I'm wearing a dark shirt, they are more aggressive. I even wear light colored socks and shoes because I don't want them going after my feet. So the bee suit is one piece. It is made of like a harsher, thicker cotton, and it does have areas that are mesh to try to keep it a little cooler. So if you think about it in the summer, this is a pretty hot outfit to go out in. The gloves are protective. They're thick. They go way over the suit, and part of that is because when you have your hands in the hive, that's the most likely place you will get stung. You'll notice that it has this little veil, this hat with a veil on it, so it's mesh. I can see through it. I'm sure it's hard with this video for you to see through it, but I can see through it, and it stops them from like coming at me and being able to sting me. So that's the bee suit, and we will look at some other tools. Okay, so every beekeeper needs tools in addition to her bee suit and gloves and veil. And when I go out to the hive, I have a bucket that I carry with me, and in that bucket are these things. So these are all very necessary if you're a beekeeper and you're getting in and out of the hive. The first one here is the smoker, which you fill with, it's got some damp grass, some leaves, some twigs. Doesn't really take much. You don't really want it to burn, you want it to smoke. And then you push it out here. And it's very necessary. When bees smell smoke, it's not that it dulls their senses at all. It's that they have evolved to be afraid of fire, of course, in the forest. They would have experienced forest fires over millions of years. And when they smell smoke, they go into the comb and they eat a bunch of honey, because if their hive is going to catch fire, they are going to leave with empty stomachs. So, I mean, full stomachs, which makes sense. So that's the smoker, and I use that if I'm going to open up the hive and do a lot of work in there, because it keeps them busy eating honey. The next thing is, and I don't know what to call this, I call it my pink tool. And you can tell it's covered with honey, and it's covered with wax. I use this to get into the hive, and it's never easy. They cover everything with wax. So a lot of times I jam this between the two boxes, and I hammer this in, and then I pry the box apart, and I also use this to get frames out. A lot of times I'll use this, and then I'll need a pair of pliers, and I'll pull it out with the pliers as well. Remember, the bees have everything glued down with wax, so nothing is ever easy to get out of the hive. I also use a big brush like this, and a lot of times I just brush over the top of the combs to move them if I need to look at something. If I pull up a frame and it's covered with 1,000 bees, if I need to see if there's mites in there or if the queen is laying eggs, I might brush the comb off to gently move the bees for a moment. I carry a little multi-purpose tool. This has like a little tiny knife in it. It has little bitty pliers in it. It has a tiny flashlight. This really helps. When I get all the way out there and I need something like that, I use this. I also have a little tiny pair of clippers, and these are just used on like bushes and weeds that are in my way. Whenever I go out there, it's on the edge of a meadow, and there's a lot of weeds there, and I try to clean it up like once every month, but a lot of times I'll go out and there's a big stringy weed in my way, so I'll clip that. So I always have a little pair of trimmers with me. And last but not least, I usually keep a pair of little binoculars with me. It helps. I can stand kind of maybe 15 feet away from the hive, and I can still observe them. And this would be great if you have a pair of binoculars, so you don't have to get close to a bunch of bees, even in your yard. Go out and grab a pair of binoculars and look at some bees in your yard that might be on a dandelion or something like that. Hi everyone, I hope you enjoyed the first episode of the Bee Report. I've enjoyed making these videos a lot, but I'm just learning how to edit videos, so please bear with me, they will get better. I hope you learned something about beehives and bees and what a beekeeper needs, things like that. In the next episode, we are going to talk about bees themselves, their bodies, their anatomy, what they look like, and bee evolution, how they evolved over the past 100 million years. See you then.